On the next line, line number 1 is the Minister of Municipal Affairs, there you go, and the MHA for Mount Pearl South, Steve Kent. Steve, how are you?
I'm good, sir. Mount Pearl North.
Oh, is it? Oh, right, it is north.
People do that all the time. I don't take any offense.
Listen, when it comes to north and south, I get lost in Mount Pearl so often that I wish I knew my north and south better.
Well, I'd be happy to show you around. It's pretty simple. But I hear that you townies do get lost in here a fair bit. So.
I know. Probably that's because we're not used to roads that go straight and make right turns. We're more used to like weaving in and out. Or like Rollins Cross makes perfect sense to me.
There you go.
Now, Steve, what kind of news do you have for us tonight?
Well, I've got some big news actually. It doesn't concern my third child, and it doesn't concern my political future. We'll save all that for another day. But
something told me that it wasn't going to be the announcement of the third child or your political future, although both of those would be welcome as an exclusive on Nightline.
Well, maybe next week. We'll see. My wife would like the third child to arrive right now, as would I. She's ready to go, but the baby doesn't seem quite ready. So we'll see how the next few days unfold. In the meantime, it's the last day of school, so I want to wish all the students well who finished up classes today. I want to say a big thank you to all the teachers and the administration and staff of all our schools who've worked so hard all year long to provide great education to our kids.
Absolutely.
We've had a challenging year in the Mount Pearl Paradise School System. There have been some changes proposed, changes that I opposed, that will be implemented now for the fall. And I have some good news tonight, though, Daryl, and I'm sharing it for the first time on your program. We've been working behind the scenes for quite some time since the school board's announcement to figure out how we can make the best of the situation to ensure that the transition for all those affected is as smooth as possible. So Minister Paul Davis, the MHA for Topsail, and myself have been working closely with Minister Darren King and school board officials and with parents and with teachers and staff of the schools to figure out what's required in each of the buildings and how can we make this situation work. So I'm pleased to share with you tonight some information on what's happening. I can tell you that for the new Mount Pearl Senior High, the former Mount Pearl Intermediate School, we have close to $200,000 approved for renovations and improvements to make the school ready for this fall. A tender was just awarded for $1.7 million for exterior work on the former Mount Pearl Intermediate property, which will be the new Mount Pearl Senior High. New windows and other exterior improvements as well. We've also got $66,500 approved for the new Mount Pearl Intermediate, reorganization at Mount Pearl Senior High as well, to the former Mount Pearl Senior High, to make sure that building is ready for September. And the work that's going to be done is based on input that we've received from the staff, from the school's councils, from parents, from teachers, and I really do think that ultimately people in these school communities will be pleased.
Well, when is this work going to be done?
A lot of the work will be done over the summer, and some of it will continue into the fall. We've got a priority 1 list and a priority 2 list. There's certain things that will be in place for September. There's certain things that might not be quite finished but will be in the works. And that's not all. We also have some funding that was recently announced for an extension to St. Peter's Junior High on Munden Drive. It was $500,000 in this year, and we anticipate that that's going to be about a $5 million extension. So that's on the horizon, and I feel very confident that extension will happen. One piece that I'm probably the most excited about is we've now got a commitment from the Department of Education for $75,000 to investigate the long-term capacity and needs at St. Peter's Elementary on Ashford Drive, one of the biggest overcrowding problems we have in the system, and it's going to expedite planning for an extension to St. Peter's Elementary. So that's new funds that will help prepare for Budget 2015, and it means that an extension is on the horizon for St. Peter's Elementary. And on top of that, we've got another $140,000 that will be used to get the building ready for September. There will be some new walls going up, more walls coming down, classrooms expanded to their original size, new washroom facilities, improvement to the parking lot and the roadway. So all of that will mean good news for St. Peter's Elementary, which will be a K-3 school in September.
So that's great news for the schools and a quick turnaround. So when you talk about the expansion to the school, what size of an expansion are you referring to?
Hard to say. So this planning money, which is the first key step with any school extension, will determine what the needs are, what the capacity is, what shape and size of an extension would make sense. My view is that St. Peter's Elementary needs a new gymnasium, and it also needs a block of new classrooms. And there's not a whole lot of space on that site, so it is going to be a challenge. But we've now finally got some money in place to get the work done. And that's not all, Daryl. There's going to be some challenges at Newtown Elementary because of the readjustment. Newtown Elementary is becoming a 4 to 6 school. Mm-hmm. There's some funding in place to make improvements there as well. About $10,000 to reinstate some class space and to deal with some lockers and some other facility requests. We've also secured $250,000 for a modular classroom for Newtown Elementary to address the space issues. On top of that, there's plans in the works for an electrical upgrade at Morris Academy for $300,000 and more electrical upgrades at Mary Queen of the World, and we've got an additional $300,000 to deal with painting and moving costs associated with the changes to the 5 schools as part of the Mount Pearl reorganization. So if you factor in what's likely going to be the cost for the St. Peter's Junior High extension, which will happen over the next couple of years, and we've already got money in the budget this year, we're talking about close to $8.5 million being invested in the Mount Pearl school system. So the opposition has been quick to criticize and say that we don't have a plan and we're not investing. So we're making the best of a challenging situation, given the space challenges that we do have and the population challenges that we do have. But the result is an $8.5 million investment in the schools in Mount Pearl. So that's something that I'm quite excited about, and I think it will mean good things for students in all of those buildings that I mentioned.
That's great news for the people in Mount Pearl who are, nobody likes change, and it's tough to make changes with existing infrastructure. So, Mount Pearl really, and Paradise, you're almost a victim of your own success. You've created something where young families are streaming into, and then the schools are bursting at the seams. So now that you've sort of, and there's, with Minister King, a lot of work had to be done to get it where it is right now. What is are you looking out long term over the next 5 years and say, well, what needs to be addressed in Mount Pearl? Is it a new major school like's being put into the high school on Topsail Road, or what are your thoughts there?
Minister King is definitely focused on the long term, and he's already working with school board officials to talk about what we need to get in place over the next number of years to address the capacity issues. We've got a new school approved for Paradise, which is coming very soon. Not soon enough, unfortunately. We could use it now, but it's in the works. The land is being acquired, and the funding is in place to move ahead with a brand new school that can easily be converted to a junior high. We need a junior high in Paradise. Mm-hmm. We're having an extension built on Elizabeth Park Elementary in Paradise. That tender has been awarded, I believe, so that'll be in place for fall 2015. But we got to look at the overall region, and perhaps we're going to need a new school in Southlands or in Galway. Perhaps we'll need to make further configurations in Mount Pearl and Paradise. There's definitely pressure already and legitimate need already for a junior high school in Paradise, perhaps eventually a high school. So with the shifting demographics, with the expansion of several communities in the region, there's a lot of work to be done. But an $8.5 million commitment right away to address these immediate needs is something that I'm very excited about, and I want to thank Minister King for working with Paul Davis and I to make that happen. That's
no small change there, and a chance, I guess, for Mount Pearl residents to kind of lick their wounds as they go through these changes in September, because there's going to be growing pains, but I'm sure that this is going to help out. And interesting to see that it is looking out to where the schools need to be provided where the people are moving, and I can see the same thing down my way where there's new schools being built. Good news, good schools for the kids to learn. You got the last word of the first hour. Steve, thanks for calling. And listen, give us a call as soon as that baby's born.
We will be in touch over the next week or so, Daryl. Thanks a lot.
If you need some tips, we can talk at a later date. I can give you some tips about how to speed up the baby making process, but I don't know. That's totally up to you.
Well, we don't seem to have any trouble making babies, and every time there's political events happening, we seem to have another child. So I don't know what that means, but we're definitely committed to this being our third and final child. So we'll see.
I imagine that what you should do is check your schedule over the next week, and that biggest, most important event that you're supposed to be at, that's when you're going to have the baby. Take care, Steve. We'll talk again.
Thank you, Daryl. Take care.
Bye-bye.